Friends, I welcome you to my channel. Before listening to this story, I will ask you to like and subscribe. It is not difficult for you, but it is pleasant for me. And we're starting. All the characters in the story who enter into intimate relationships are over 18 years old. I did not come up with this clever move. I saw it a long time ago in some comedy, where the clerk constantly left work on personal matters, but always left his jacket on the back of the chair and always, wherever he went around the institution and outside it, he held a folder with papers in his hand, creating the effect of presence on in the workplace or showing that he is not idly staggering, but in a hurry on business. I didn't come up with it, but I used it regularly and successfully. Ron, dear, my fiancée Sue said at breakfast, I'm going to have to stay late tonight. Has something happened? I asked. Something about work? No. She looked a little confused, but I couldn't figure out what was wrong yet. The thing is, Chuck, his girlfriend left him. Chuck? Your ex? So what? Well, he just called me yesterday, and he's very upset. He needs support. I'm sorry, Sue. I didn't understand. Is your ex who dumped you upset that he was dumped by the one for whom he dumped you? And you want to support him? Well, yes. Her cheeks turned pink. She clearly understood that she was saying something wrong, but nevertheless continued her speech. Of course, it doesn't mean anything for our relationship. It's just friendly support. Sue. I couldn't help exclaiming, this is absolutely wrong. Remember, he left you. Not only were you upset, you were suffering, you were depressed. It was me who saved you from her. I'm worried now that he's suffering, she frowned. I feel responsible. We didn't have much time to talk. The timing was extremely unfortunate, by the way. After that, I realized that she deliberately did not discuss the problem in the evening, simply because she knew the truth about her position. She just knew what I hadn't realized, that I was a backup option, a quiet bay in which to wait out the storm. And our morning conversation ended like this. You don't have to do anything for him. You have a new relationship with me, and he's in the past. And he left you for someone else. Do you want me to feel guilty about his condition? I didn't expect such cruelty from you. I'll go to him anyway, and don't you dare stop me. And you're just jealous. You're just not confident in yourself as a man. She didn't come back in the evening, and at night, and the next morning. Her phone was not answering. It wasn't turned off. I just ended up on the blacklist. Everything was clear. I should probably be glad that we didn't get married in time, but that's how you can talk after a long time. And at the moment when everything happens, realize that you've been led by the nose for a year, that you've been used. I'll stay with him. We realized that we both made a mistake, she said in the evening, appearing at my house without greeting me and without thinking to justify and apologize. And me? I'm sorry, she said almost indifferently. So I've been a backup all this time? Is he plan A? Am I plan B? Don't be silly. It was a mistake. I really thought it was over between us and I was being honest with you. Sue, I chuckled bitterly. What if I told you I was depressed? You'd leave him and come back to me, right? She just shrugged her shoulder in response and hurriedly began to pack her things. Not all of them, of course. In a year, my apartment has managed to fill up with many things. I was in a black depression for several days. I changed the locks the next day. It was unbearable to think that when I was at work, she would come with Chuck for things. They would walk around my house, sort things out, and who knows, maybe the guy would even want to mark the territory by taking my fiancée on my bed. They probably came and couldn't get into the apartment because Sue texted me that they would pick up their things on Saturday. Characteristically, after removing me from the blacklist to send me an SMS, she immediately put me back on it. A colleague with whom I have a more or less friendly relationship and with whom I can chat about non-working matters, when I told about the breakup between Sue and me, after thinking about it, said, when they come to get your things, you might feel really bad. They're on a kind of honeymoon right now, you get it? Even if they don't say anything like that, like, they won't mock you and all that, you'll feel like they're laughing at you. Would you like me to come by and support you? Or I can just replace you. It's not difficult for me, but I do not know what can be given to them, what not. I thanked him, and at that moment I was looking at my jacket on the back of the chair, which this week was working on the effect of my presence in the office as tightly as ever. I often couldn't stand to stay in the office, much less work. I wanted to get drunk, and I often ran away somewhere not to see, not to communicate with anyone. When they arrived in a rented minibus, I put on a carefree expression, or at least I tried. But I didn't miss their snide smiles and glances, and it added to my worries. I was taking Sue's things out of drawers and cupboards and I wanted to cry. And suddenly, it was like a spring had burst inside me. I suddenly remembered the school, remembered the bullying I had been subjected to at some point, how I had to confront almost the entire class. No, it didn't come to big fights, but they tried to boycott me then, and I would hardly have been able to do something against everyone if I had behaved like they usually behave, like outcasts. I just announced a boycott in response. I ignored the ice wall. I came in the morning and cheerfully greeted everyone without waiting for an answer. I did not ask for help or questions. I behaved as if nothing had happened, kept a smile. I even enjoyed when passing by someone from the enemy. I made remarks like, "Oh, Frank, cool badge. I'll have to buy something similar for myself," and did not wait for an answer. Left, leaving the jerk standing with a puzzled look. It seems to be a boycott, but it seems that some kind of conversation is taking place. I had to fight only once, when one of my classmates tried to take my pen away from me before class. But after that there were no more attempts at physical influence, only a wall of invisible ice remained. They lasted about a month. And then I made fun of it when I was already choosing who to remove the boycott from and who to ignore. Perhaps this is the advantage of an introvert, regardless of society. Well, not completely, of course, partially. It helped me then. And now I'm wearing a mask too. Guys, why are you in such a hurry? I said, smiling almost naturally. They gave me a bottle of excellent wine here, but I won't drink it alone, and it's boring to drink alone. They looked at each other in surprise. Sue shrugged, and X, who I knew liked to drink, nodded. I laughed almost sincerely and took out a bottle and glasses. To you. Without letting them come to their senses, I raised my glass. It's really great when people can keep affection, love, for so long. I envy you a little, though. It's great that you're not jealous of each other at all. I winked at Axe. Not everyone can love their wife knowing that she slept with another man. No, if you don't know. If the girl was doing it secretly, then there are no worries. But to know for sure that a few hours something was leaked back there, and even after washing, there could be tailed zippers there. He winked at the guy again. If you imagine that you get them with your tongue. What are you talking about? Sue exclaimed. I'm sorry. I'm always being tactless. I muttered embarrassedly and added, turning to Axe, forget it. Forget it. In fact, everything happened during the year of the relationship, although, of course, I often entered it with a condom. But at the end of the relationship, Sue began to protect herself with pills. There you go. I smiled. She's not lying. We're both not lying. Sue put down her glass and said angrily to Chuck, come on. Sue, well, let us finish a little. I asked, smiling. Well, I said tactlessness. Well, I'm sorry. We're adults. You wait outside. He'll catch up with you in a minute. And without asking, I refilled Chuck's wine. I guessed right. Chuck couldn't leave the glass unfinished. Sue glowered at us and left, and I said to Chuck in a conspiratorial whisper. X frowned and looked at me angrily. He put down his empty glass and silently left. I let out a sigh of relief. The play has been played. They'll believe it or not. It doesn't matter. The main thing is that I made them stop laughing at themselves, and if I manage to ruin their evening and sow doubts in Axe's head, then I've already taken a little revenge. Well, let Sue see that I'm not really suffering. Sue called the next day and hysterically demanded to tell Axe that I had lied about everything. I immediately guessed that she had turned on the speakerphone specifically for X and continued the performance. Sue, come on. What's the big deal that I used you? Is he completely retarded? You liked it, didn't you? You bastard. You've never used me in the ass. She screamed. Sue, don't get hysterical. If that's what you need, I'll confirm what you want. I'll even say that we didn't have anything. Do you want? Give him the phone now. Is he nearby? Let me talk. I promised to say that we only had a friendly relationship and then twice a year. The creature. I hate you. She dropped the call. And I still love you. I answered fatally into the switched-off smartphone without playing. And a day later she came, starting to swear from the doorway. I let her in. She again demanded a rebuttal for Axe, and I played again, suspecting that she was recording the conversation. And then it turned out wonderfully at all. The X came. Is yours here? I told her. To open it? Is he not very jealous? Although yes, We have already found out. Shut up, she muttered. I'll wait in the bedroom. I don't want to explain anything. I opened the door, zipping up my fly as I went so that the ex could see it. Oh, Chuck, I exclaimed joyfully, glad to see, and I exaggerated joyfully and therefore falsely stretched out my hand, but immediately pulled it back. Sorry, dirty hand. I'll wipe it now. And, as if checking my own words, quickly brought my palm to my nose, sniffed, nodded. Yes, now. He grabbed a pack of wet wipes, which always lie on the bedside table by the door, defiantly wiped them. Should I pour something? It's about Sue, Chuck began, frowning. What makes you think I have it? I asked and quickly looked back at the bedroom door. You never know where she might be, especially since she loves you. X stared into my eyes. I didn't say I was looking for her at your place. Are you alone? Listen, can we chat outside? I answered the question with a question and looked back at the bedroom door again. Wait for me. I'll come out. Yeah, he said. I'll just check something. And pushing me away, which I didn't resist at all, he stepped to the bedroom door and opened it. It turned out great. Sue was probably squatting by the door, eavesdropping on our conversation, and when it swung open, she lost her balance and fell into the living room. It's not what you think, I immediately exclaimed. Although no one asked me, we didn't do anything like that. X froze, looking from me to Sue and back again, and I chattered as if X was saying something. Chuck, just don't worry, this is not a reason for jealousy. If a guy and a girl end up in the bedroom, it doesn't mean anything, and in general she loves you. Keep yourself in control. We haven't had anything since the moment when we decided that she would be with you. Well, almost nothing. Nothing happened. I just came in to talk, Sue stammered. We wouldn't have done anything in an hour, I added. You know she likes it longer, and so do I. Shut up, both of you. X barked. I need to be alone. With these words, he turned around and ran out of the door. Sue looked at me in confusion and didn't seem to know what to do now. It's better not to touch him now, I said. Wait a couple of hours at least, he needs to cool down. It turned out to be stupid. Let me see. I took the phone from her hand and pressed the button, turning it off, so that you don't say anything unnecessary to each other in the heat. In fact, of course, I wanted the ex not to be able to contact her and would have thought anything, but not what really happened. I unwittingly hurt you. I'm sorry, he smiled. Have some tea, come to your senses, and then I'll take you to him myself. And I promise that I will clarify everything, apologize, say that I had a breakdown, that it was hysterical. You'll see, he'll understand everything. Why are you doing this? Sue exclaimed angrily. Do you really hope to bring me back like this? If it wasn't for your behavior, we could have remained friends. I don't hold a grudge against you. I didn't hold it. And now, you're an asshole, Ron. I continued to humbly apologize, promised to fix everything, and in my heart I reveled in revenge. I will not be the only one to suffer. Sue gradually calmed down and we even had tea. I was telling her something, in fact, talking through my teeth, secretly glad that she had forgotten about the turned-off phone, which means if Chuck tried to call her, he had a great reason for jealousy. I guessed right. Chuck returned about 40 minutes later. Sue managed to tell me, just try to say something else like that. I promised, I said, and I kept my word. I just put a torn condom wrapper on the nightstand by the entrance, so that Chuck couldn't miss her. And he noticed. When I opened the door, he glanced at the gilded square. His face twisted into a grimace. He glared into my eyes, turned around and stormed out. What? Sue jumped up from her seat. What did you tell him? Nothing, I swear, I replied. I'll take you to him now and do everything as promised. I actually took her to Chuck's house, and I walked her to the door of his apartment, although she refused. But I behaved like a gentleman, carried 2 bags with small things. I tried to stay to Sue's left so that she wouldn't look at the left side of my face. But when Chuck opened it, I turned around on purpose so that he would notice the lipstick mark on my neck. No, any woman would understand that this lipstick mark is just a lipstick mark, a stroke, not a kiss mark. But Chuck is just a man. Where can he guess? In general, he caught the message and read it exactly as I wanted. I returned home and for the first time my mood was, if not wonderful, then elated. I suddenly realized that I no longer wanted Sue back. The whole performance seemed to tear her out of my heart. 3 days later, in the evening, I answered the doorbell. Sue was standing behind her, and she was clearly upset about something. May I? I poured her a gin and opened a can of beer. We broke up, she said. He constantly accuses me of making love to you these days. You set it up on purpose, didn't you? I tried to explain to him. It was your revenge, wasn't it? If you don't want to, don't tell me. I already know. We've said so many things. You know, it's really good that you did all this. I really forgot what he was like. And when we started fighting, I remembered. It was a good lesson and I realized that I didn't need him. But you. I realized that this year was the best in my life. No one has ever cared so much about me. Chuck, I don't want to see him anymore. I hugged her, pulled her closer to me, and said softly in her warm ear, I'm glad you realized that. And I'm glad you came. My things are all there with him, Sue said, and leaned over to kiss me. It's okay, I managed to say before our lips joined, and after a long kiss I finished, he won't spoil them, will he? And you can pick them up later. It was a delightful night of love. Sue was both affectionate and proactive. She kissed me all over. Her lips were everywhere. Her tongue processed my whole body, and then we made love. In the morning, I brought coffee to bed and enjoyed looking at her sweet, sleepy face, her serene smile, and the gentle gaze directed at me. Just before leaving the house, I kissed her again and asked with slight embarrassment if she would be able to please me. Sue, who a couple of weeks ago, before our breakup, would have been outraged by such a consumer attitude, now only smiled sweetly and obligingly knelt down. We drove up to Chuck's house, went to the door of his apartment, and I pulled Sue to me and kissed her gently on the corner of her mouth. I will miss you, Sue, I said. I will always remember our year, and it will always be my best memory. All she could do was open her mouth and stare at me helplessly. I can wait in the car while you pick up the essentials. And tell me where to take you. Where are you going to live now that both your ex and I kicked you out? Friends? The hotel? What do you mean? We are the same. No, no. I just wanted to try you just when you're hoping for a restoration of the relationship. I expected you to try especially hard. And my expectations were fulfilled.